Hello everybody, I'm back again, Riffraff Hornhelm, with another presentation from the Dwarven Vault, and today we're doing a monster review, and in line with what we've been doing, which is looking at monsters from the original monster manual for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, and in this particular case we've been focusing on dragons, and today we have the Green Dragon for you. Or, as known in the monster manual, is Draco, Chlorinous, Nauseous, Respiratorus. These are some really wild names they come up with, and yeah, okay, I kind of get it, but okay, but that's what they call it in the book. So, the Green Dragon is a well-known dragon, particularly for being extra evil, extra mean and nasty. These are truly, truly evil creatures. They're not small. They tend to run 7 to 9 hit dice, depending on the age of the dragon, of course. We've talked about that before. And, of course, they have a breath weapon along with a claw and a bite. Their bite's not the worst in the bunch, but, of course, they also have a breath weapon. And in the case of the Green Dragon, it's a very famous chlorine gas that they spew out, doing tremendous amount of damage, unless, of course, you make your save, in which case, not so bad. Having said that, these are dragons that 45% of the time are capable of speaking. About 20% of the time they can do spells, and about 40% of the time you'll come across them while they're sleeping. Not that you want to wake any dragon if you can avoid it. Now, they are average to very intelligent, so not too stupid on that side of it, as is evidenced by the percentage of them that can speak. They're also, like I said, thoroughly, thoroughly evil. They're nasty, nasty creatures. You can't expect to come away well with any encounter with them, whether it be negotiation or combat. They fight pretty nasty. And of course, like many dragons, this has a 20% chance of knowing spells. If it knows spells, for each of the 8 ages that make up a dragon, they get through the first 4 ages 1 first level spell, and then through the last 4 ages they get a second level spell. So they're a little more powerful than something like a black dragon. They have slightly more hit dice. They really are a nasty, nasty creature, and you want to watch out in any dealing with them. I mean, from a dwarf's perspective, that gas is pretty effective. And fortunately, they tend to lair always underground, but they tend to do it in very wild, forested areas, deeply, densely forested, and they tend not to hang out too much in the kinds of places that we as dwarves would go. They're a bigger problem probably for elves. Oh, that is indeed horrible to hear. And of course, other creatures like men and so forth who tend to go through these places would have a higher chance of running into them. Now, like all dragons, they have a horde. And like all dragons, they also enjoy some of the special benefits that dragons have. And as a dragon, green dragons in particular, seem to really enjoy scaring the ever-loving crap out of players. Now, you have to remember that all dragons have the ability, just by flying overhead, to induce fear and panic. Now, how effective that is depends on what level you are as a player in terms of the character you're playing. Very low level characters and single hit dice creatures almost automatically either freeze in place, panicking, or run, fleeing in panic. Neither one's a particularly good outcome, depending on all the circumstances involved, but certainly the dragon enjoys it. And green dragons are the kind that really like to lord it over folks and be as evil and nasty and thoroughly mean as possible. So scaring large groups and armies and things like that, that's just fun for a green dragon. Uh, Even us dwarves, if we're low enough level, are susceptible to this. So we don't really like them. But once again, we don't spend much time in their environment, and they spend very little time in ours. Though, of course, if they have the chance to steal our wealth, they'll do so. And if we get the chance, we'll steal it right back. So, in talking with our Hornhelm colleagues, both from the dungeon master standpoint and also from the player standpoint, and remember, this is really a dwarven group. So I guess maybe we're a little more concerned about how it affects us dwarves than it is about how it affects, say, elves. Though we would stand up and cheer if it was a negative effect on an elf. But that goes without saying, right? At least for dwarves. So when we look at these green dragons, we talked about it, and from a DM standpoint, running a green dragon was a lot of fun. Because they're so thoroughly evil, you can just kind of go to town on your player characters and have fun and feel no shame whatsoever because you're just fulfilling what a green dragon really is. So from our perspective, when we look at it, we'd say this is a good 6, maybe a 6.5. And when we talk to players, well, they don't like these. They're always evil. They always attack. They're always out to cause major harm and misery to any group of players they run across. They love flying around, scaring villagers and creatures, the cattle in the fields and the goats and, the chickens and all that. So when talking to players, they had a healthy respect for these, and they listed them as a 6 to a 7. Okay, that's pretty close. Not the worst one out there, but an ancient green dragon is a real handful. And remember, up to 9 hit dice. Okay, that's a pretty good amount right there. I don't think that anybody would want to put themselves in the position of having to fight an ancient green dragon without a good amount of help. And the one thing you can count on, if you run into one, it's not going to go well unless you're able to kill it. Now, this is not something that as a group can't be slain. Happens plenty of times. Their evil sometimes makes them a little bit vulnerable. They go too far one direction and don't think about the outcome. But all in all, it's a fierce opponent and one that is worthy of respect and preparation if you're a player, and is just oodles of fun to run if you're a dungeon master. Especially if you're in a bad mood that day and really want to kick some serious... Well, never mind. So that's our view on the Green Dragon, and we hope you enjoyed this presentation. If you did, give us a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Leave us a comment. Come back and see us again real soon. And remember, dwarves rock!